Now, James, we know that Labor, be it New South Wales' leader in Jody Mackay, who voiced support for the Palestinians, but then there's Jed Carney, who is in the super woke seat of Batman, which I'm sure is about to be renamed because he's, of course, an evil man. She decided to march as well. What does that say to you about the modern Labor Party, about where it sits on Israel's right to defend itself? And I always love this talking point too, because the mark of fairness is apparently casualties, that somehow, because not as many people die because they have the Iron Dome, then somehow you can keep throwing rockets at Israel?
Well, Paul, you might remember about a week ago, Penny Wong got very offended that the Prime Minister suggested that perhaps Australia's historic bipartisan support for the two-state solution was being undermined by the Labor Party walking away from its traditional support for Israel. What he was referring to was the motion at Labor's National Conference to unconditionally recognise the state of Palestine.
Correct.
As without any negotiations, which of course would undermine the two-state solution. But we've had yet more evidence today that he was right and Penny Wong was wrong. With Jed Carney not only marching at this rally, but appearing in a Facebook post by the Melbourne University ALP Club that included the slogan, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Now, I want to give them credit. I hope it was only ignorance that caused them to be spouting a Hamas slogan that calls for Israel to be wiped off the map. But I have serious doubts whether it was ignorance, Paul, because also in that Facebook post, they said that Israel had killed 232 civilians, not pointing out that most of those so-called civilians are in fact Hamas militants. And they described Israel as a colonial settler state. Now that's ahistoric and idiotic. Jews returning to Israel after the Holocaust, where they had continuously occupied the land for thousands of years, is not colonialism. You could argue it's the opposite of colonialism. So I'm very concerned with the Labor Party flirting with the most extreme Corbyn-style elements of anti-Israel activism that blends very comfortably with anti-Semitism. And it's up to Penny Wong and others who are so offended by this accusation to clean up their own house and get these people out of their party if they're genuinely sincere about upholding Australia's
I mean, Michael, I love this
support for
where
Israel.
sorry, James.